The champagne glasses were raised. Everyone in the restaurant applauded my husband. He smiled proudly. I built this company from nothing. Then he looked at me. And my wife? Well, she was just lucky to come along for the ride. The room filled with laughter. I forced a smile. Right then, my phone rang. It was the bank manager. Mrs. Harper, we can't release the company loan without your approval. I quietly stood up, looked at my husband, and smiled. You should probably tell them. Why they need my signature. The entire table fell silent. If you've ever watched someone take credit for your hard work only to lose everything because of their own arrogance, you're going to love today's story. Subscribe for more original Reddit-style revenge stories where patience always wins. Now, let me tell you how my husband learned who really built his business. My name is Emma Harper. I'm 34 years old. When Daniel and I got married, neither of us had much. We lived in a tiny apartment with leaky windows, counted every dollar, shared one aging car. We promised each other that one day we'd build something extraordinary together. When Daniel wanted to start a logistics company, I believed in him without hesitation. I emptied my savings, signed paperwork, worked weekends, and kept my full-time accounting job so we'd still have enough money to pay our bills. For the first 3 years, I handled every invoice, every tax return, every payroll report, every late-night spreadsheet. Daniel focused on finding customers. It worked. Slowly, the company grew, but success changed him. The bigger the company became, the smaller my role seemed to get, at least. That's how Daniel told the story. Whenever reporters interviewed him, he called himself a self-made entrepreneur. Whenever clients praised the company's growth, and he accepted every compliment, never once mentioning the woman who stayed awake until 2 in the morning balancing the books while he slept. At first, I told myself it didn't matter. We were married. His success was our success, but slowly, our success became his success. Then the expensive lifestyle began. A luxury SUV, a downtown penthouse, designer watches, private golf memberships. Daniel insisted they were investments. I quietly reminded him that rapid growth came with risk. We should build a larger emergency fund. He laughed. You worry too much. That's why I make the big decisions. The word stung, because every major financial decision had originally been mine. He'd simply forgotten, or chosen to. One afternoon, our accountant unexpectedly resigned. Before leaving, he pulled me aside. Emma, I think you should review the company's latest loan applications. I frowned. Why? He hesitated. Just look at them. That evening, after Daniel went to bed, I opened the files. Within minutes, my stomach tightened. Daniel had applied for a $12 million expansion loan. Without discussing it with me, worse, he had projected revenue numbers that were wildly unrealistic. The bank had requested one final approval before releasing the funds. Mine. Because years earlier, when we first started the business, Daniel had insisted both of us remain equal owners, 50% each. He'd forgotten one important detail. Major financial loans required both signatures. The next week, Daniel announced a celebration dinner. The loan is basically approved, he told everyone. We're about to become one of the biggest logistics companies in the state. Employees applauded. Family members congratulated him. He had already started spending money he didn't actually have. Then came the speech. Daniel stood, lifted his glass, and smiled. I've always believed one person has to lead. He looked directly at me. Not everyone is built for success. Some people are just lucky enough to marry it. The room filled with awkward laughter. I felt every eye turn toward me. Instead of arguing, I quietly picked up my phone. The screen lit up. Incoming call. First National Bank, I answered. Hello, Mrs. Harper. We're just waiting for your approval before releasing the loan. I smiled, very slowly. Then I looked at Daniel. His confident smile began to fade. The restaurant became completely silent. Daniel stared at me. The bank? I nodded politely. The bank. The manager's voice came through the speaker. Mrs. Harper, we've completed our final review. We just need your authorization before releasing the $12 million loan. I glanced at Daniel. He looked confused, then nervous. Emma, what are they talking about? I covered the phone for a second. They're waiting for my decision. His smile vanished. For the first time that evening, Daniel looked genuinely worried. Can we talk outside? I smiled. I think we can talk right here. After all, he hadn't been embarrassed to criticize me in front of everyone. Why should I hide the truth? I looked back at the phone. I have one question. The manager replied, Of course. Has Mr. Harper informed you that I'm a 50% owner of the company? There was a short pause. Yes, Mrs. Harper. That's why your signature is legally required. Around the table, several executives exchanged confused looks. One quietly whispered, 50%? Apparently. Daniel had never told anyone. Daniel lowered his voice. Emma, please. Not here. I met his eyes. For years. You introduced me as the woman who was lucky to marry you. You told everyone you built this company alone. You erased every late night, every sacrifice, every paycheck I invested when we couldn't even afford rent. He looked down. I didn't mean it like that. I shook my head. You meant every word. I returned to the call. I'm sorry, but I won't be approving the loan. The manager answered calmly. I understand. We'll suspend the application immediately. The call ended. Daniel stood frozen. $12 million? Gone? I quietly corrected him. No. Delayed. Until this company has realistic financial plans, one of the board members slowly nodded. Honestly, she's making the responsible decision. Another executive spoke up. We've all been worried about expanding too fast. Daniel looked around the room. For the first time, nobody was standing beside him. The following week, we held an emergency shareholders meeting. Instead of arguing, I presented financial reports, cash flow projections, debt analysis, everything Daniel had ignored. By the end of the meeting, the board voted to appoint an independent financial committee. No major spending, no large loans, and no executive decision could happen without full approval. Daniel remained CEO, but he no longer controlled everything. Accountability had finally replaced ego. A month later, Daniel asked to meet me, not as a CEO, not even as my husband, just as someone who finally understood what he'd destroyed. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I spent so much time trying to look successful. I forgot who helped me become successful. I listened, then answered honestly. Respect isn't something you apologize for after you lose it. It's something you protect before it's gone. A few months later, our divorce was finalized. I kept my ownership in the company. The business recovered. Employees received raises instead of risky expansion. And for the first time, people knew the truth. It had never been one person's success. It had always been a partnership. Some people think revenge means taking everything away. I don't. The best revenge is letting the truth speak so loudly that no one can ignore it anymore. Daniel didn't lose his company because of me. He almost lost it because he believed success belonged to him alone. Real success is shared. Real leadership remembers the people who helped build it. If this story kept you hooked until the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. If you were Emma, would you have approved the loan or made Daniel earn back your trust first? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next original Reddit-style revenge story.